Nice to meet you all. My name is Jackie Duca, and I have been in college admissions for 26 years, so for a while. So when we were asked to come here tonight, I thought, well, what a great opportunity. I have 26 years under my belt. I've been at 5 different institutions. They're all very, very different. I've been at highly selective institutions. I've worked at some not so selective institutions. The majority of my work has been at large public institutions, but I also worked at a highly selective private institution for a few years in Boston. So a lot of admissions experience, should be able to answer any questions that you may have regarding admissions. I know I'm supposed to talk a little bit about the whole application process, so let me just try to get a better understanding of who you are. How many parents are going through this for the first time? Okay, so most of you. And then how many second time? Any third? Okay, so all you second times get a prize. Ellen will give it to you when you leave. Anyhow, so this should be a really, really fun and exciting time for you and your son or daughter, or sons and daughters if you have twins or triplets. But anyhow, should be a great, exciting time. It's probably the last time that you will ever go on a real vacation together with your son or daughter, so take advantage of those trips. I believe that most schools right now are giving in-person tours and information sessions, so it's really, really important that you go to those, that you go and visibly look at the schools that your son or daughter is interested in, because all of us have amazing brochures. We spend a lot of money on marketing. And there's a reason, because college admissions has become an extremely competitive marketplace. So we have to have branding. It's got to be good. It's got to be better than all of our competitors. And we work really hard to do that. So you need to really physically go to those college campuses, take a look at them, talk to current students, ask them a lot of questions, and then let your son or daughter make the decision, as hard as that is. Not only have I been in admissions for a long time, but I have 3 daughters who have all gone through the process. One took a little bit longer than the other 2, but she's the baby, and so she had every right to do that. You know how that goes. Took her a little bit longer. She didn't want to take the traditional route that the other 2 did. So it was almost like a completely different process with her as it was the other 2. So just as much as we all want our kids to go to that certain school, try to listen to them as best as you can, because it's really important that wherever they go, they're comfortable. That's the most important thing. It doesn't have to be the greatest school in the country. It doesn't have to be an Ivy League. What matters most is if they're comfortable and they're happy with their decision. So try to be supportive if you can. Application processes have changed a lot over the years. Everything when I started used to be papers. I used to go home on a weekend with about 300 applications and read through those as quickly as I possibly could. Most of them had 2 or 3 essays involved. Now everything's electronic. Everything is online. It's easy for us to get to the information. It's easy for students to track their application and see what's missing, what the office has received, if there's any documentation that we need. They can check their test scores to see when their test scores arrived. Most schools still require, last year was an exception, but last year was an exception for everything. But most schools are requiring still test scores. Some are not. A lot of colleges have chose to go test optional. So anything I tell you tonight about college admissions is a very general process. Each college or university has their own system. They have their own deadlines. They have their own admissions requirements. So it's super important that whatever school your son or daughter is applying to, you know what those deadlines are. You know what their visitation schedules are. You know what their scholarship deadlines are. It's really important, especially the more selective you get, the more important those deadlines are, because highly selective schools will not go beyond a deadline. You know, they have a flat deadline, either you meet it or you don't. So really, really important. If you're interested in, or your son or daughter are interested in a selective program, and there's many of them out there, especially now. If it's engineering programs, computer science, nursing is even considered a selective program. Those programs usually have their own specific requirements for entry into those programs, so make sure you look into that. So not only do you have to meet the general admissions requirement for the institution, but you have to meet the requirements for that program. Some schools will tell you if you don't get into your first choice major, we will review you for your second choice major. Others will not. They will just say, didn't get into your first choice major, sorry. So make sure you look into that and you know how they review those applications. What's important, what isn't. I honestly don't know of any college that will not tell you that grades are the most important thing. Grades and the quality of the courses that the student took, meaning the level, whether they're college prep, honors, AP, IB, etc. That's usually the most important thing out of any college application. A lot of schools like to tell you that send in your resumes, because we do consider all the things that you do on an extracurricular basis, which they may. It depends. There are some schools that will look to see if you've done anything spectacular in the mathematics field if you're applying to an engineering program. So little things like that you don't think makes a difference, but they really do. So just what I'm trying to say is do your investigating. Find out all of those deadlines, what the requirements are, when do things have to be submitted by, what is important. You can ask that. When you go to a college, it's very common for, usually students don't want their parents to ever ask questions, but you can always ask the question, what are you looking for when you review the application? What's the most important thing? What do I need to know? Because that's what that admissions counselor is there for, is to tell you and guide your son or daughter through that process. If they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. So you need to ask those questions and make sure you get your answers. I'm sure you all know, but there's different applications that are out there. There's the Common App, which is the general. Most schools now, I think, have the Common App where a student can submit it to the same application to a variety of schools. Then there's other schools that still require their own application. Then there's some that only require GA Futures, or they tell you can do the GA Futures app, or you can do their own app. So make sure you know that. Which application is my son or daughter going to use in this process? Which is the easiest thing for them to use? And if you need any guidance, I always encourage people, ask your high school counselors. That's also what they're for. And if you have any specific admissions questions, make sure you call the college or university and ask them directly. That's what we do. So you're not bothering us or putting a negative connotation on your sons, like, oh, that mother's crazy, we don't want them to go again. So don't worry about that. There are schools that track how many times your son or daughter may click into their website, or how many times they visit the campus, or if they went to an open house or an admitted student day. It's important for a lot of colleges for enrollment to do that, because there's no exact science to college admissions. There just isn't. I wish there were, because my job would be a lot easier, but there isn't. We never know how many students are going to actually come. We can admit 1 million students and we still don't know how many kids are going to come, just like what I talked about before. It's competitive. There's a lot of colleges out there. And a lot of us are going after the same thing, those really great kids that we want on our campus, because we want We want everything. We want lots of diversity. We want energy. We want leaders. We want collaborators. So that's what we do when we go out and recruit is we look for these kids and we try to get them to apply to our college. And we go out there and we tell them all the fascinating things about our majors and what the school is doing and what our current students are doing out there in the workforce, what they're getting as far as real world experience. That's another important question when you go to visit colleges. What are you going to do for my son or daughter? Big question, really important. Are they going to get a job? You're going to guarantee it? How are you going to do that? What type of experience will they have on their resume when they graduate from this institution? Can they, as an undergrad, as a freshman or sophomore, participate in research? If they're going in a highly technological field and they can't do research until they're a junior, that's important to know. So ask those questions. So there, I've rambled on enough. What questions do you have for me? Mm-hmm.
So I have a daughter who's senior. This will be my second one, but she's the first one that's asked about things like honors colleges. And is that something that they should consider? And is that a separate application generally?
It depends on the school. Some have a separate application, some do not. I would always encourage students, if they qualify for an honors program, to do it. A lot of schools even give them an additional certificate saying that they graduated from the honors college. It looks good when they're going to get a job. Also, there's a lot of other experiences that honors colleges offer students. Usually study abroad options are more available. They collaborate, they do things as a group a lot. They have meetings and pizza nights with professors and things like that. They have the option to all live together. So honors colleges have a lot of advantages. So if your daughter can do that, I would by all means encourage her. She doesn't have to stay in it. If she decides that it's too much, I can't do it, you don't have to stay there. Okay?
I have a daughter who's a junior. What's too early or what's too late to get involved?
No, too early. Do you know we're recruiting as early as 9th and 10th grade now? Okay. So it's never too early. You can start looking at colleges, as soon as students are freshmen, if they have a long list. I mean, I think now the average student applies to at least 10 colleges.
What if it's an opposite problem? What if there's one that she wants, right? Like, do you kind of cast a big net hoping that one is there, or do you invest all your energy in that?
No, I would never say invest all your energy in that one. I would always say, even if she's an amazing student, I would say have at least one or two backup options in case that doesn't work out. Something may happen. She may not get into the program she wants, or she may not get the money she needs to get in order to go there. And price tag is also a big thing. Don't look at just like when you're buying a car, the price tag of it. Consider how much the school will actually give you as far as financial aid, because a lot of people make that mistake too. Some private schools, well, at least one I used to work at now, is like $75,000 a year to go to. And I know their average loan is maybe 25, so you still have a big amount to pay for there. Whereas with some of the public institutions, a big chunk of that is taken care of. And I always told my daughters, doesn't necessarily mean it's true, it's not where you go for your undergrad that's gonna make or break your career. It's where you go for your graduate degree that's really gonna make that. So support her, but say, hey, just in case, let's have a couple options. What if COVID comes back and it's someplace that is far away, or you want to just tell her that. I would use that that's a great excuse. Yeah.
I have twins that are seniors this year. One is in an education track at the high school and wants to go to AU for their education college.
Great. Great program.
Yes, that's what I understand.
Yes.
The other one doesn't really have a real direction.
So she's normal.
Ideas.
That's what we call them.
That's what I keep telling you too. But is there something that she could be tested on or researched to find out, kind of narrowing down that
Yes.
career
Yep,
major?
every college has testing facilities that students are it's open to any student that wants to go in and take a test, especially if they're applying. A lot of times students wait till after they're admitted to do that because they don't feel comfortable going to take a test someplace where they're not even sure they're going to go. So I would advise that later on. A lot of schools have either a liberal arts program, an undeclared major, a create your own major type of program, and that's a great place for those kids to go because it gives them very general information to start out. These are the most basic classes you can possibly take, which will be acceptable at any of the other programs. I will be honest with you and say the more technical program the student goes into, the earlier the student decides, the better off they will be. Because if they go into an undeclared program that first year, and then second semester of their first year, they decide they want to be an engineer, that program is so structured that they're already a semester behind the rest of their class. And you cannot get around it. And there's several programs that are like that. So it's not a detriment to a student that doesn't know what they want to do, but if they decide they want to do something really technical, the sooner the better.
The other thing, what are merit scholarships?
Merit scholarships are academic scholarships, depending on a student's SAT scores or GPA scores. They're set by the institution, and the institution usually puts that on their website. And then there's other ones that sometimes we notify the students, like we have one at AU for border county, South Carolina students, where if we see students that are, academically prepared, they're right on that border, we kind of mark it to them to say, hey, come to AU and we'll give you a little bit of a tuition discount. And check your websites, because your websites do have a lot of information on there. I look at them all the time. Yeah.
I have a piggyback on that question. If you have a child that they really have no direction, and most of these applications are asking what school you want to go to, does it look not great? They're like, I don't know. Because if I'm an admissions person and I'm looking at this picture,
Yes.
it's like, I don't know. You're going, are they going to stick it out?
Right.
You know?
It does. I mean, it doesn't look bad on the student. We've all been there. Who knows what they want to do at 17 or 18 years old? I didn't decide till I was 32, just so you all know. So, sometimes it just takes people longer to figure out what they want to do. So I would, there are, like I said, there's these programs for undeclared majors who actually assign an advisor to the student the first semester so that they're continuously working with an advisor trying to figure out, hey, I don't know what I want to do now, but we're going to help you make that decision. And we're going to give you a test from the career services, and we're going to say, okay, where are their strengths and where are their weaknesses? And then we kind of guide the student to the right programs and see what they want to do. The average student changes their major 4 to 5 times in 4 years. Which, that's normal. Like I was saying before, though, the more technical you go in a program, the harder it's going to be to graduate because it's going to put you there longer if you don't make that decision fairly early. Usually by sophomore year, if you've made a decision on your major, you're fine.
Kind of the same thing, if you have children who don't have a specific interest. Are some types of colleges better, like a liberal arts college?
No.
That would have a more broad, it's not.
I'm going to say no. Probably the liberal arts colleges would shoot me, but I'm going to say no.
I was just wondering if, large universities are more directed towards a major,
Right.
or I don't know.
Okay, first of all, it depends on the student. Okay, you could have the most outgoing student in the world, and you put them in a large university, they're going to thrive. You may have a student that's very shy and introverted. You put them in a large university, they're not going to do so well. So I think you have to base a lot of it on the student's personality and what they're comfortable with. I have seen very introverted students be amazingly successful at large public institutions. It really depends on the student, because every school you go to has regular office hours where professors have to be there. No matter how big the school is, they have advising programs. I will tell you that now that I'm at a smaller school, do I see the kids a little bit more comfortable going to their advisors? Yes. Because they don't have to go through so many hoops and wait in line, or wait till 3 weeks from now to get an appointment, which may happen at a larger place where the classes are bigger. So for a student that needs that additional attention, you may want to look at a smaller, more, just a more unique setting for them instead of putting them in a big, large university. It can be overwhelming for students. It's a lot to take in the first year. You're moving away from home, you're taking classes, you're meeting new people, you've got this crazy social life that people are bombarding you with, you've got football games, you've got this. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I think that you really just have to take a look at the student and say, hey, what's the best fit for them? Do you ever hear that saying, go to the college that's the best fit? That's what they mean.
And I guess hopefully the student will kind of get a feel for that.
They will know that when they go visit. I wanted my oldest daughter, to go to where I went. And I was so excited to take her there, and I remember driving up, and she's just looking. I could see her just looking out the window, and she's like, not going here. And I'm like, why? Too big. I'm not living in that 30-story. No, not doing it. So she ended up going to a small private school her first year, which was much better for her. It was just, a better place. And then my middle one ended up going to the larger school. But they have very different personalities, Both smart, great girls, but different personalities.
So related to that, if you were talking to a teenager right now, what advice would you give them if they were preparing for a college visit? Like, what should they be thinking about? What questions might they ask? If you were giving advice to that person, to that kid, what would you say?
I would probably tell them to speak with as many current students as they possibly can, get a feel, and they can, now there's these things, my gosh, we have this, it's called near peer. Have any of you ever heard of it? My God, once a student applies, we start this near peer thing, and we say, hey, want to meet other kids that are interested in Augusta University? And then when they get admitted, we write them back, we say, hey, want to meet other kids that are coming to Augusta University? Maybe you can talk about housing options. Maybe you can talk about intramural sports. That's how they get to meet people now. It's not like the old days when I went and you went to orientation and you just looked around praying that you would find somebody that was like you and you could be a roommate with them. Everything is online now. It's completely different. So I would have them, the most important thing is to visit the campus, talk to the students, eat the food, go in the residence halls, ask questions. Ask questions about classes. What are your classes like? Do you like them? Are there any really good professors? How about bad ones? Get all the information that they can. That's the only way they're really going to get a feel. Some schools allow overnight visits or visits. Maybe they don't now because of COVID, but that's another option. Just go spend time there. Anybody can go sit in the library and just, talk to students. Hey, what's your major? May be a little creepy, but And our tour guides or our ambassadors, they are all trained for that. They wait for kids and we give out their information. Hey, you have questions? Send them an email. And they write back, they answer the students. And sometimes they offer to show their room or do whatever on their own giving. We don't even have to ask them. They just offer it up to students. Or they'll say to a family, yeah, sure, you want to come tour? I'll meet you at such and such a time. So just communicating with current students, see how they like it. Yep.
I heard you mention the IB program.
Yes.
Is
Yep.
that a significant resume enhancer?
It's like AP. It is. It's International Baccalaureate programming. We give it the same weighting that we would an AP course usually. There is a lower level and a higher level, so the higher level is a little bit more intense. Some schools do weight transcripts and others do not, so that's a good question for you to ask. Do you use a weighted GPA or do you use the GPA that the high school tells me is my overall GPA? Because I've been at both. Schools that do give the extra weight for the more difficult courses and schools that do not.
And I guess we can request a transcript from our school to see,
How your students are doing?
yeah.
Yes.
See, because I asked the guidance counselor,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter, she's a junior, GPA. The things he sent me, I didn't understand what it was. There was one cumulative.
Yes, yep.
And then there was one non-hope something GPA that was on the 4.0
Right.
scale. But anyway, I thought, some of the terminology is foreign to me.
Is right, is foreign. And some schools only look at core courses when they're recalculating transcripts. So they're only looking at your basic courses, your math, English, your social science.
And not elective kind of things.
Depends on the school.
It's just, the hope is just your core,
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so
thank
it's
you.
not any electives that you have.
Okay.
And there, Columbia County was also talking about starting to do, and I don't know if they've done this, I haven't looked at a transcript, but they were talking about starting to do on the transcript a weighted and an unweighted, because for a while they were doing the weighted, and then they started seeing kids getting dinged, because the colleges didn't want the weighted, but then certain colleges did want the weighted, and then it was the other direction, so it was, they're trying to do both, to try to help both.
And the weighted is when you get a little extra
For your
boost
AP.
for.
Yes.
When you're
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
And the unweighted is if you didn't get the extra boost. And everybody, I'm not really sure how the boost works or don't work, but I don't know that they're all in uniform either, like the high school.
But that's not available in their portal or anything, is it?
No, no, it'd be on the transcript they would be sending to the
Right.
college.
And
I
it's,
don't know if they've done
it used to be, we don't wait at Augusta, so I haven't done it in a little while, but when I worked at a selective institution, it was like a 0.5 was added to every honors course, and a whole point was added to every AP or IB course. That's how we used to weight them. And it's done on a 4.0 scale, so we convert it. So it gets technical, but you can ask your counselor. I mean, if they had the unweighted and the weighted, that'd be great.
We were talking about that last year, but I don't know where, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but the application just opened for 2022, so. And we have not reviewed any yet. Yeah.
I have a question also on the FAFSA.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone to a workshop, a couple different workshops while they've been in high school. And I was told to get the FAFSA in right away. They will go in apparently as independent students because we have custody.
Right.
But, and I understand this may be a real advantage for them financially. But I didn't know with the FAFSA, when I went online and tried to do all that, it was, I had to put down for the year that they were entering school, and 2022 was never an option.
Right.
So that-
October.
Okay, so if that's October 2nd, does that, how is that looked at? Do I want to get that in like right away, or, as far as?
You know, we used to tell people to apply, if you love money, apply by Valentine's Day. Love, they'd remember the love and the heart and February 14th because that used to be the FAFSA date when we told everybody. But then at last, was it 2 years ago, they started opening the FAFSA much sooner. I always tell kids to get things done sooner because nobody does anything good when they're under stress or if they wait too late and they don't have time and they're rushing. So the earlier they can get it in, the better. But it's not like you have to have it in October. It's just there, it's available. Yes, if you can do it soon, go ahead and do it. You have plenty of times to, that you can update the information. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And the other thing I was wondering about working on campus when they're attending school. school.
Yes.
Is that normally for upperclassmen or?
It's for everybody. We encourage students to do that. We have, actually, we have our own office that has HR, student jobs, and most schools do, where they can just go ahead and apply as soon as they get there for a job. And then there's some students that have work study and some students that don't, but there's jobs for both. And then there's always admissions tour guide jobs, usually not for first-year students, but for sophomores and above. And something that I never knew until I got in admissions is when you work at a college, you can usually get your degree for free. I didn't pay for my master's. And I know a lot of people, I have people working for me that are getting their doctorate, and their schools really help out with that.
That's awesome.
So kids that start in admissions when they're in school and be a tour guide or just helping out in the office, they most likely will get a job right after college in admissions and then work on their grad programs. I have 3 that are doing it right now. So good thing to know, because nobody ever tells you those things until it's too late. Oh, how'd you not pay for your master's degree?
I know it's 7, and I told you it's 7:07. I don't want to stop anybody from asking questions, but I also don't want people that are kind of ready to go to feel like they have
Right.
to go. So do you mind hanging out just a little bit?
Nope.
I answer any more questions if you
Fine.
have questions, if you ready to go, or I just need to be quiet.
You're welcome. Thank you all. It was nice meeting you. Good luck with